Hello and welcome to the Hoop Heads podcast. It's Mike Klinzing here with my co-host Jason Sunkel
And
tonight.
we're here to break down the best episode of Star Wars in recent memory. I'm just kidding. I'm joking, but I'm telling you, I know you haven't watched the Orange Lady at all.
Wait,
But the episode,
I did watch it. I did watch
did you
it.
watch? Do you watch tonight's already?
No, but I watched
Oh.
last week's. I watched the last half hour of last week's episode.
And you didn't fall asleep?
That was the worst half an hour of TV.
Oh,
Seriously,
come
I'll
on.
never get that. I'll never get that 30 minutes back.
Mike,
Nothing
Mike,
happened. Nothing literally happened in 30 minutes.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. The episode tonight had the best.
Listen, I didn't watch the episode tonight. I don't care about that one. What about last week's for 30 minutes? 30 minutes, nothing happened. Seriously, they flew around in a whatever, a flying saucer, and then people were shooting at them, and that was it. There was like no dialogue, nothing. Seriously, nothing happened for 30 minutes. Even my son
got out of the thing and flipped over the
no
thing.
Man, that was the worst. That was the worst. I'm totally. I was out already, but I'm totally out.
No, you got Mike. You got to watch
No.
this one, and then if you still say that after this episode, then okay. But I'm telling you, the best lightsaber duels in a Star Wars movie since Revenge of the Sith. Honestly, like seriously, best. Great.
Right.
The end was great. Okay,
I'll take your word for it. The odds of me watching that are, I don't know, pretty infinitesimal.
If you're on the couch and the kids are watching it,
yeah, I'm out. Anyway, So NBA, a lot of news out there. So we have a ton of things to discuss tonight, right? A lot of NBA news.
Someone got hurt at practice today. I saw that, but that was about it. Oh, who was that? That was someone got hurt in a workout. I did that. So that's the one piece of news that we had. But the real news we're going to talk about, I'll research that and get back to you in a second. The real news is Team USA lost, and then of course they've already played since that loss. So it kind of we can talk briefly, I think, about Team USA's loss, then coming back to win today, which really wasn't a basketball game today. It was a blowout. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the podcast. We had a teaser 2 weeks ago that we kind of spaced out. I spaced out. And then I was sitting here thinking, 2 days ago, I was like, didn't we say we were going to do something on last week's episode? And then I was thinking about it. And then today I finally went back and listened to the episode. I was like, oh yeah. So we're going to end the podcast discussing the top 10 Americans. And we'll talk about what we would do, how we picked our teams, whether they're for longevity or do we want to win the championship, who we would pick. So we'll talk about that because we were very vague in our criteria, Mike. We didn't we didn't keep ourselves put ourselves in
I don't know that I did any better in going through this exercise in terms of what I was thinking. I don't know if you were able to clarify your thinking, but maybe we'll talk it through.
Yeah.
Trey Murphy the third, by the way.
There you go. Trey Murphy the third.
The Pelicans, left meniscus.
So the Pelicans, listen, they need to get some help.
Pelicans are well represented on my top 10. I want you to know.
Yeah, they are not on mine. I got one.
What?
I got one.
Come on, man. Come on.
I got one.
All right.
You're gonna be excited by my one, but I've got my
sure
one.
I am. I can already tell, man. I didn't know Jose Alvarado was American.
Anyways, so Team USA loses abhorrently on Sunday, giving up 110 points in a, as you put it to me, 40-minute game.
How do you do that? Seriously. I mean,
it's not the All-Star game.
Legitimately, they played zero defense in that game. I mean, giving up 110 points to anyone is ridiculous.
When all their bigs are in foul trouble, I mean, JJJ, give me a break. That guy, Jaren Jackson Jr., come on, man. Stop getting into foul trouble.
He seriously has 2 fouls in the first minute and a half of every game. Can I get some Evan Mobley? Can I get some Evan Mobley on Team USA?
Oh, he might be on my list.
All right.
Preview.
Can we bring him in for this game? Can we bring him in for this tournament?
Can we? Well, I think it's a little late for that now.
I guess you're right.
You have to imagine they asked him, right? You have to imagine.
I just don't see how Garland and Mobley weren't somewhere in the mix. I just don't see it.
Mike, if I'm the Cavs, I try to get Mitchell, Mobley, and Garland all on this team.
Well, Mitchell's probably a cut above, right? He's in the list of guys who are in waiting for the Olympics.
I mean, here's a question, Mike. Is it okay? Like, and I don't want to spend too much time on the Cavs and the Olympics and stuff, but okay, so Mitchell's probably going to the Olympics. Is there any chance Mobley gets an Olympic roster spot? Like, because if I'm Team USA, he's a all like defensive team, first team. He's solid on offense. He's not great, but like, how is he not better than like
he at least is on the floor? I mean, the benefit. Look, if you're comparing Jaren Jackson Jr. and Evan Mobley, what you're comparing is when Jaren Jackson Jr. is on the floor, he theoretically is a slightly better shot blocker than Mobley, probably a little bit stronger. Maybe if you take the fouls out of the equation, maybe the better defensive player, but I would say it's pretty close. Offensively, what you like about Jaren Jackson better than Evan Mobley is his ability to space the floor and shoot threes. Mobley clearly, at least up until where we are at this point, we haven't seen him be able to shoot threes at a high rate. And yet I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that in this World Cup so far, Jaren Jackson is 2 for 7 from 3-point land.
He's shooting lots of threes. So what you're saying, he's shooting lots of threes.
Yeah, so it's not like he's like lighting it up and they're really utilizing him as a guy that can spread the floor and take high volume threes. So look, would Mobley make sense on this team? I think on this team, he makes a ton of sense. On the Olympic team, as we'll get to here in a minute, he maybe makes less sense, but you can certainly make an argument that he should be right there in the discussion, especially if he continues to develop as an offensive player the way people expect him to. So we'll see. But
hey, Mike, we got breaking news on the podcast.
What's that?
Woj just tweeted. Danny Green has agreed to a 1-year deal to return to the Philadelphia 76ers.
Danny Green, not Harden replacement.
He has a strong relationship with several key members, including Joel Embiid and head coach Nick Nurse.
Is that going to mess up their cap space for next summer when they're bringing in all these guys to play with Tyrese Maxey and
I mean, I have to imagine he's on. I have to imagine Danny Green. I have to imagine Danny Green is on like a minimum contract, right? Like,
no, you don't think he's signed for $12 million?
No, get out of here.
No, I would guess not.
All right, sorry. It literally came across my screen, so I figured I'd shout it out. So, like, listen, right. I'm sorry to do the Mobley thing. Like, I was just wondering, like, this team is just a hot mess. Now they're probably going to win the gold because the team that could beat them because of their size advantage lost today. And I mean, I don't envision any of these other teams that are left beating them. But at the same time, like, if they give up 110 points, I don't know. Because, I mean, listen, a lot of things had to go Lithuania's way. Like, they started the game 9 for 9 from 3. I don't know what they ended up shooting.
I think they were 14 of 25, if I'm not mistaken. They ended up.
So, like, you know, obviously they came out on fire and hit 9 threes to start the game. Okay. And that's probably the recipe to beat Team USA because they don't play defense, apparently. But I just don't. And honestly, I didn't watch any of the game. I just kind of. You gave me the rundown. I didn't even know they lost until like something. I was scrolling on Twitter. It was Sunday, right, Mike? It was Sunday.
It was Sunday morning.
So like I was scrolling on Twitter looking at like NCAA.
No, wait, it was Saturday. Wasn't it Saturday? It was Saturday.
Oh, it was Saturday because I was
Saturday.
So that's what happened. So Saturday morning, I was looking at like Ohio State stuff because they were about to play, and I was like scrolling, and then all of a sudden I see Lithuania 9 for 9 for 3 to start the game. This isn't a good sign for Team USA, and it was like in the 3 hours ago, and I'm like, what? And then I went and looked, and I was like, they lost, and that's when I texted you, and then you gave me the rundown. Like Anthony Edwards seemingly was the only player that showed up to that game. But listen,
but today he had 3. So he went for 35 in a loss, and today in the win, he scored 3. He went 1 of 6 from the field. So
I don't know. Listen, bottom line is this, Mike. I still think Team USA wins the gold. And this is just like a bad.
Well, what was interesting? Look, let's phrase it this way, right? I think, I don't know about you, but what I did when I put together our list here of American players and trying to come up with the top 10 guys that I would want to form a team with, there wasn't a tremendous amount of guys on this roster that I even considered to be on.
There were two.
What I would think to be
there were
best.
Two for me.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it as we go through. But this team is good enough to win the championship of the World Cup. And I think that I like the way that the team theoretically is constructed in terms of they have lots of different pieces that are capable of doing different things. Obviously, as we go through and we reveal who our top 10s are, we're going to come to the realization that a lot of these guys are not top 10, top maybe even 25 guys in some cases, at least in turn. And that's not even including all the foreign guys that play in the league. So this team is not the best representation of the talent of the United States and the NBA, but it is a team I think that is relatively well constructed in terms of positionally and guys fitting together and having guys that do different things, which I think ultimately is probably going to allow them to win the gold medal. But we'll see. I mean, they still are going to have, I think, 2 tough games left. I mean, the 2 games they have left, no matter who they end up playing, I think is going to be a challenge. Serbia, to me, is probably the weakest of the 3 teams that are the 4 teams that are still left that the U.S. could potentially play in one of those 2 games. So you're looking at Germany, you're looking at Slovenia, you're looking at Canada. So those 3 teams, I think all 3 of those teams can give the U.S. a solid game, and they're going to play. The U.S. is going to have to play 2 of them unless Serbia upsets somebody in the semifinals. So it's going to be 2 difficult games coming up here in the semifinals and the finals. But I'll still be surprised if the U.S. loses that. If they play to their potential and they decide they're going to play a little bit of defense, I think this team should win gold. But I won't be stunned. I won't be stunned if they don't, but they should win.
Okay, I agree. Well, and next week we'll be able to eat crow on it, right? I mean,
that's right. When they go out in the semifinals.
Semifinals is Friday and wins the finals. Sunday?
Probably Sunday. When Schroeder pours in 46 against us, we'll know. Schroeder. When Schroeder plays the piano and bangs out the 46 concerto against the U.S., we'll know. We'll have to come back on and eat some crow.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on those, Mike? I don't really.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So then the other exercise we're going to discuss is the top 10 players we would want on Team USA. I've got my list. Some are going to be surprising. Some are not. And so here's how I did this, Mike. Okay. I said
you lay out how you did it, and then I'll lay out how I did it.
I said if I was competing, and I know are we 2 years from the Olympics?
No, 1 year, because the World Cup normally would have been in 22 and then the Olympics in 24, but for whatever reason, I think COVID related, they pushed
everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So my view on it was this, Mike. I said, these are the guys that I think will help me win the gold medal this year. I don't care about after this next Olympics. I just want the 10 guys who I think I want on my roster for the Olympics this year. And I know the roster is probably more than 10, but these are the 10 guys that I chose. And I went through most of the rosters. I did not look at Orlando Magic's roster. I did not look. I didn't look at the Oklahoma City Thunder roster. I didn't look at the Detroit Pistons roster. So if I omitted anyone from those rosters, I apologize.
Well, Paolo's on Team USA right now.
Yeah, he's not going to be on Team USA.
So you omitted him.
Oh yeah.
You omitted Chet.
Yeah.
You omitted Cade Cunningham, star of the select team.
Get out of here.
No?
No. All right. So I'm going to start with the guys who
Wait. Stop. Keep going through your process.
Well, so I went through all the
rosters. Don't reveal any guys. Did you do it positionally?
No, I figured they would figure it out. I did not.
So you picked guys regardless of position.
Yes.
Okay. I tried to do it positionally. I think probably what I
always do things positionally. I knew you were going to do it. I just said I want 10 guys who I can win with.
Okay. So I don't think it honestly, as I looked at the lists, like what I tried to do was I first put together a list of guards, then I put together a list of forwards, then I put together a list of centers, guys to consider. And that list probably had 30 or so players.
I didn't have that many players.
I included everybody who's on this current Team USA. I included everybody on my larger list, just to be fair, because these guys are playing this year, which theoretically, at least in the past, has always given guys a leg up, right? If you've played internationally relatively recently, that usually gives you a better opportunity to make the following years or subsequent years teams if you have international experience playing for Team USA. So I put all those guys on my extended list. And then I kind of went through and I just made a list of guards. I made a list of forwards and I made a list of centers. And then from there, I tried to narrow down and pick the best 10. I don't want to say regardless of position.
How many centers I have? Like I have 0 centers on my list.
You have 0 centers.
I mean, one might be considered. You might be able to consider one a center. I already kind of spoiled that one.
I have 2. I have 2 centers with a third center lurking. I'll give you my lurkers too once we get into it. So, all right, let's go. Let's do it this way. Even though you didn't do it positionally.
Okay.
Or do you want to do? So here's the 2 ways.
Can I say one other thing?
Go for it. Yeah.
I did not, like I said, I'm just going with these guys I'm going to win with.
Okay.
There's no way I don't win with this. I didn't even judge it on nude. There's no way this guy's going to do it. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do that either. I just picked. I did not factor in.
You could probably predict who one of my guys is based on that statement. But
yeah, I mean, I came to the same conclusion that you're coming to. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah. Okay. So let's go.
Do you want to do it? Do we do it? I guess my question is, there's 2 ways we could reveal this. One is you could do it positionally and reveal the guys that qualify in different positions, or we could do it as guys that were 100% no-brainers. You didn't even have to think about whether this guy should be on the team or not, and then go into the guys that there was some debate in your mind about whether they were, which, again, we can have that same debate as we're going through positionally.
Yeah.
So I don't care if you want to go. So the 2 ways are no-brainers or positionally.
Let's do guards. Let's just do guards. Okay. Let's do it by position. I think positionally makes sense.
Okay, sounds good.
So my first is let's do guards. Steph Curry was immediately written on my list.
Absolutely. Steph is
because Steve Kerr's the coach. Steve Kerr's the coach. Steph Curry's the best shooter probably in the history of the NBA. Okay. There's no doubt in my mind that he has to be on this team. Done.
He's a no-brainer. No discussion. Steph has to be on this team. There's no question.
Okay. We don't have to talk anymore about that. Okay. My next guard probably should have been the finals MVP, but he got hosed. Like, I have Jamal Murray on my list.
Jamal Murray's Canadian.
Oh, he is?
Yes.
Oh, no.
So you're going to have to go back to your secondary list. Jamal Murray is sitting out. Great. He's sitting out this year playing for the Canadian team, but Jamal Murray is Canadian.
Well, that just shows how ignorant I am. When I was looking at my list, I thought that he was American. Okay.
That's all right.
Well, then my other guard's Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, I have him for sure. Donovan Mitchell has to be on there, right?
I have Mitchell on my list.
I have Mitchell as one though.
I have Mitchell on my 10, but he is not a no-brainer for me. I have him on my list of 10, but I don't have him as a no-brainer. But he's on my list. He's on my list of 10.
Okay. All right. The other guard that I have I have Booker on my list of 10, Mike.
I have Devin Booker on my list. I think Booker, what he's done in the playoffs the last couple of years, what he did in the finals against Milwaukee, the fact that he's still young and I think by all rights getting better, I think Booker has to be he has to be on this team. And he played in the last World Cup, whatever that was, 2 years ago after they lost to Milwaukee in the finals. Remember him and Middleton and Drew Holiday flew over to, where was that, in Japan? Or was that that wasn't the Olympics, was it? Because that was the Olympics, remember? Because they postponed it a year for COVID. So Booker won the gold medal there with Team USA in Japan in 2021, I guess that would have been. So yeah, Booker's on the team. He's a guy that can handle the ball, can distribute if he needs to, mid-range score, has a skill set that not a lot of other guys have. To me, Booker was a no-brainer.
Okay. And I don't know if anyone else on my list is considered a guard, although one's kind of a hybrid.
All right, we'll leave the hybrid alone. Leave the hybrid alone.
So do you have any other guards that
I have one more guard, but I'm going to leave that. Let's leave that alone and go through and get to our no-brainers, and then we can get to our guys that we're debating.
Okay. Forwards. We move to forwards. Okay. I have Kawhi Leonard on my list, Mike. If he's
Kawhi Leonard is not on my list. He was not even he was not even a guy. Are you
just assuming he's not healthy enough to play? Is that
he was on my long list of guys, but he was an immediate cross off. I thought he deserved to be on the long list, but
you can't rely on him.
You can't trust him. He's not going to play.
Okay.
And
all right. Well, listen,
I just don't think he can be on the list. If you tell me I'm getting the best of Kawhi Leonard, then sure, I sign up for that every time. But that's what you were telling the Clippers they were getting, and they've gotten nothing near that. Okay. And anytime in the last, really since he's signed with the Clippers, when he's gone full go for any length of time, he's been unable to function. So talent-wise,
my list here, if you can see it on my
you're crumbling
camera.
It up.
Yeah, I have Kawhi and I have a question mark next to it. So he was
okay.
He was
that's
my
fair.
Question.
That's fair.
He was my question mark. Okay.
Here's where I have Kawhi. Look. So I have him third, and I have him crossed off. So that's my long list.
Oh
so
my God. You have Tatum. I could write Jason Tatum on my list. Anyways, the other forwards. I got to put Durant on the list. Like
Durant's on there. Yeah. Durant's a no-brainer. He's a no-brainer.
We're good. All right.
No-brainer.
All right. The guy who I don't think is going to play, but I'm going to put him on the list. LeBron, right?
LeBron's a no-brainer. He's a no-brainer.
Look at you. Yes.
I mean, when you think about from like a team standpoint and an Olympic and guys you would want, like he has to be on the team. Like there's no, if I'm
is there any chance he plays, Mike? One last hurrah. Is there any chance or no? Like what percentage do you give that he's playing?
I'd say there's a chance. I think there's about a 25% chance he plays.
Because it depends how the season goes, right?
Well, right. He's going into free agency, correct?
Yeah.
So what's he got to lose? I mean, I think there's a decent chance. Like I said, 25%. I think he plays. I definitely wouldn't rule it out wholeheartedly. And he'd be a guy that clearly, if he wanted to play, they would gladly take him, and for good reason. You would want LeBron. You'd want LeBron on that team.
There's no way Team USA would be like, LeBron, we're good.
Right? Yeah. No thanks, LeBron. We're good. We're good. We don't really need you.
So that leaves me with I have 3 players left, Mike. They're all that.
Okay. No, wait. Okay. So go back. Who you have? So you have Steph,
Booker, Durant, LeBron, and Donovan Mitchell. So those are the 5, and then I have 5. Kawhi.
You have Kawhi. Sorry. All right, Kawhi. That's fair. Listen, we're not taking Kawhi off your list.
Okay. And I had Jamal Murray and correctly had Jamal Murray. So I think
right,
okay.
So you're gonna have to get another guard after you go through your list.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go. We'll talk about this after.
Let's talk it out. Let's talk it out when we get there. You can add a guard. Okay, Let's talk it out.
So the next person on my list, Mike.
Okay.
Has spent a lot of time at the buffets. I put Zion on my list, Mike.
Oh my God.
I put him on my list, and here's.
All right.
I think. Listen. This is theoretical, Mike.
Okay.
But if Zion has a good season this year,
okay,
and he's able to play 30 games,
okay,
and he's healthy, and
okay,
he's truly chiseled, as they say, and he stays away from the buffets,
okay,
he would be an exciting player to be on Team USA. You don't have him on your list, right?
Could not agree more. He is not even on my long list. He is not on my long list.
You're the biggest Zion fan in the world, and
he is not on my long. Look, I can be a huge Zion fan, but I don't want him taking up a roster spot.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I'm thinking. I know. I'm only picking 10 guys that I want on the team. I know the roster is 15. If I expanded this to 15, would you even have considered Zion or no? Still,
I mean, if I'm taking 15, then I'm looking at flyers of guys who have a huge upside, and if they end up being completely injured or overweight and can't play, or otherwise distracted, it doesn't really matter if I'm taking 15. If I'm taking 10, I just don't see how I take
Zion. I put Zion over Zion was the fourth name I wrote on my list, Mike.
All right. Well, keep going.
Anthony Edwards is the only guy on the current Team USA that I have on my roster.
Okay, so you have Anthony Edwards listed
and I did not take into account the 3 points that he scored today.
All right, so you have Edwards. All right, Edwards, so you're up to.
That gets me to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Plus Murray, and then who's your last? So who's your last guy?
I have Mobley on my list.
Who?
Mobley.
Told you. All right.
I want Mobley. I want Mobley. I want his defense. Okay. If someone's gonna, looking at the rest of this roster, I mean, if Kawhi is playing, he can play defense.
Yep.
I want someone protecting the hoop, and he's the guy who I said is hedging close to a center, but not quite a center.
Yeah. All right. So your team, I would say that you don't have a ton. You don't have a ton of defensive players on your team, I would say, right?
I would agree.
So, I mean, Kawhi, good defensive player when he's healthy. Mobley, obviously a good defensive player. Everybody else, average at best, maybe to below average, as far as being.
And I guess so, Mike. I have to add a guard. Right? So, to me, can I just talk about who my two guys would be?
Yeah. Who do you have?
I have Tatum.
Okay.
Right. Tatum has to be one of them. He was on my list. I don't trust that guy as far as I can throw him, but he can actually play. He can play defense. And probably, ironically, it's probably Jaylen Brown's the other guard, right?
Okay.
Guard forward. They both
All right. I mean, I had Brown on my list. I crossed him off. I have Tatum on my team. And I have the same reservations that you do about Jason Tatum.
I mean, who's a better defender? Is Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown a better defender, Mike? I would make an argument that Brown's probably a better defender, right?
I mean, reputationally, I think coming into their careers, I think, and the early perception was that Brown was a better defender, but I'm not so sure that you'd win that argument now if you argued that Brown was a better defender. I mean, I think they're both probably good defenders, maybe not great. I feel like Tatum maybe is more versatile, can guard more positions just because he's a little bit taller and moves his feet a little bit better laterally than Jaylen Brown. But I think you're splitting hairs if you're trying to decide between those two guys as a defensive player. So look, I had Tatum in my 10. He for me, I don't want to say he was a no-brainer, but he was maybe in the tier in between no-brainers and guys that I really debated whether or not they should be on the team. I felt like Tatum, with what he's done, I felt like he clearly was one of the 10 best players, regardless of whether you want to slot him into positions or whatever. What he's done to this point in his career, both the regular season, playoffs, and I have the same misgivings you do about him. I'm not so sure that he's at the level of being a top 5 guy that carries your team to a title. He hasn't proven to this point that he's capable of doing that. But on this team, his versatility on this team, I think, makes a ton of sense. What he can do inside, outside, what he does defensively, being able to guard multiple positions. I just think he makes a ton of sense here. So I think adding Tatum to your team, I'm 100% in on that.
Okay, so I'll add Tatum. You've convinced me, Mike. Congratulations.
All right. So
You
is
just
that your
won an
one?
argument supporting Jason Tatum. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yeah, I'm not sure I feel too good about that, but all right. So your
I mean,
team.
can I the only other name that I would even like maybe consider, because I saw some stats, Mike, from the current team USA. And it
Yep.
almost made me think of the most effective player. You know who the most effective player is?
Tyrese Halliburton.
He's the only other guy I would have considered. I'll be honest with
Halliburton's
you.
on my show. Halliburton's on my. He's right there. He's right there on my. He's right there on my list. He's right
Like
there.
he's been
So
more effectively been more he's been more effective than Anthony Edwards according to statistics and according to
different types of players, right? I mean,
yeah.
Edwards at this point is still more of a score first guy
Yeah.
and doesn't necessarily have the playmaking. Halliburton probably is not as good of a scorer as Anthony Edwards, but can score and clearly is a superior playmaker.
Yeah.
Might be the best distributor in the whole league, honestly, when it comes to guys who you'd love to play with. I mean, he just moves the ball, makes easy passes.
Well, he
He's
didn't lead
not.
the league in assists last year, Mike.
Harden led the league in assists. Isn't that sad? It's just sad. It is just sad.
He wasn't on your list, right, Mike?
James Harden, he was on my long list. I crossed him off though. He was an immediate cross off. I wrote his name down and then crossed it off immediately. I felt like you had to.
I'm just surprised you didn't write down hard no.
No, I should have put like 4 X's through his name. But all right. So to review your team: Steph, Booker, Mitchell, Anthony Edwards as the guards.
Yeah, I couldn't put Anthony Davis on my list, Mike, just so you know.
Got you. I just slip of the tongue, man. Slip of the tongue.
Did you put him on your list?
Hold on, man. I'm getting there. Forwards: KD, LeBron, Tatum, Kawhi, Zion, Mobley as your center. That's your 10.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So guards for me: Steph, Booker, Mitchell, and the last spot was tough. So I had four guys. Four guys for one.
Mike? Who did you give the rose to? Who are the candidates and who did you give the rose to?
4 guys for one spot. Yeah, here are my 4 guys: De'Aaron Fox, Darius Garland, Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony Edwards. I picked Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
But it was close. Halliburton was right there. I went back and forth. And I think what pushed it over the top for Anthony Edwards is, as much as people have talked about how great Halliburton's been, the buzz around Anthony Edwards and what people are saying that are around the team and the way they talk about the guy. And I just felt like he had to be what he's done to this point for that team. I felt like he had to be there. I think if I was going to add one guy to my team and take somebody off, I think Halliburton would be the guy that I'd put on if I take somebody off.
Okay.
All right. So those are I had 4 guards: Steph, Booker, Mitchell, Anthony Edwards. Forwards: no brainer KD, no brainer LeBron. Tatum, not a no-brainer.
Mike, I want to just say that. Can I just say something really quickly?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. I thought for sure you were going to come in saying there's no way LeBron deserves a spot on this team. I really thought you were going to come in and say that.
Well, here's the thing. If you look at the other choices, right? You can't. I think it's more a case of I can't make an argument in favor of some of the guys who I might have considered in that spot over what LeBron's consistency, what he brings to the table, and what he brings to the table in a situation like this where he's not going to have to be the main guy. He's not going to have to be the guy that scores a ton of points. He can just be the guy that is the conduit. He can be the old sage. He can be the guy that theoretically we've always heard that he wants to become. This would be the perfect scenario for him to kind of be that type of player. Now, is he capable of that? I mean, that's something we've debated over and over again, whether or not he'd ever actually sort of defer to being.
Isn't it crazy? Like, I think like every time I think about it, I think back to was 2004 when he played in the Olympics for the first time. He played in 2004 in Athens, right?
Yeah.
In Athens. and he was not even starting, sitting on the bench, Kobe playing. And then I just remember waking up early in the morning to watch the games because I wanted to see Ron play for like 8 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah, right.
I still remember. I don't remember what game it was. It was like the third game that he played, and he had that ridiculous dunk in the game, and I just etched in my brain, and I'm like, this is like, it's awesome. He's a young kid. Wasn't obviously, he wasn't the old head at that time because it was 18 years ago. But I just remember that, and I was like, that's the almost the role that he needs now, right? Like, I'm gonna play 16 minutes, maybe, probably less than, I don't know. They're 10-minute quarters, right? In Olympics. So maybe play 16 minutes, maybe less than that. And just like teach the young guys. And at the same time, just, I think I think it's higher than 25%. I've like come around to it. I think he wants one more go of it. Like, he wants to do it one more time because he knows this is the last time. He's not going to do it again after this.
It's one more thing to put on his GOAT resume, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
so
sure.
I think it makes sense for all parties for him to play if he wants to. And there are reasons, I can understand reasons why he wouldn't want to, but there are some compelling reasons why he would want to participate.
He would, if Bronny's healthy enough to play, and which sounds like he is playing. I mean, it sounds like he got the all clear, but if he gets the all clear and he's playing, like, theoretically, if Bronny's coming out, that would be summer league for Bronny too. So just saying.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like I said, there's compelling reasons for him to play. There's compelling reasons why he might not. So
yeah,
it would be a good ad for this team. Let's put it that way. So I have KD as a forward, no brainer. LeBron, no brainer. Tatum, not a no brainer, but I feel like he has to be on this team. And then a guy that we haven't even mentioned that I think needs to be on the team is Jimmy Butler. I think Jimmy Butler has to be on this team. When you start talking about toughness, you start talking about big game guy, you talk about a guy who defends. When I compare him with Kawhi and Zion probably have maybe a higher upside, but I feel like Jimmy Butler, an alpha, maybe among alphas.
He's really good at being a ball boy at the U.S. Open too.
There you go. So to me, I think Butler, I didn't feel like he was a no-brainer, but I felt like he was a guy that deserved to be on this team.
He entered my mind space, Mike. He was on my mind space. But I looked at the theoretical upside of Kawhi over him was what I...
Yeah. All right. So then from there, I started looking at, okay, you're trying to find guys that positionally can do multiple things, right? Because you don't want necessarily the traditional big. You want a big that can guard multiple positions and do multiple things and play in different ways. So looking at guys from this year's team, we already talked about Jaren Jackson Jr. To me, whatever chance he had of being on the Olympic team just goes up and whistles every time he steps out on the floor and picks up all those fouls. I mean, he's just, you can't have Jaren Jackson on this team next year. You just can't. But his backup, Paolo, has played really, really well in his role.
Whoa. You're putting Paolo on this team?
No, I'm not. I'm not putting Paolo's not on this team. Paolo's not on this team.
You almost gave me a heart attack.
He's not on this team. But what I will say is, in his role, which is a limited role, he's played very, very well. He's played very well offensively. He's played very, very well defensively. He's versatile. He has size. He's a guy who's going to be better a year from now than he is right now. So I don't think he's on this team. I didn't put him on this team. But when I looked at who's my next guy that I might consider because of his experience this year, and again, the weight that carries with guys making the next team, I felt like he was a guy that was right on the cusp of getting in. But I did not put him in. So I have 4 forwards and 4 guards, which means I'm left with 2 centers.
I know where this is going.
So, although I am not a Anthony Davis
fan,
I think on this team, I think Anthony Davis, again, when you're not asking Anthony Davis to be your best player, when you're not asking Anthony Davis to be a guy that you need to count on to score, look, you can make the same counter argument to me, right, that I made with you with Kawhi. That
yeah. I understand. Like I'm just giving you a hard time.
No, I'm just saying that's the counter argument, right? Is if that can he stay healthy? But I don't think, just like Kawhi, right? If you discount, hey, if you tell me Kawhi is going to be healthy, then Kawhi is on this team, no question, right? If you tell me AD is going to be healthy, AD's got to be on this team. I mean, he's better than some of the other guys that we were putting on here if he's healthy.
Yeah, okay. All right.
All right. So then on that. The last spot for me came down to two guys. Two centers / power forward / whatever you want to look at it. And it came down to Evan Mobley or Bam Adebayo. And man, that was a tough call to go back and forth between those two guys. And you look at and we already talked about Mobley and what he can do on the defensive end of the floor. And you can make a case depending on what you like defensively. Do you like shot blocking of Mobley? Do you like the more physical presence of Bam Adebayo? You can make an argument between those two. I think offensively, Bam is obviously a little bit more accomplished, but Bam kind of is what he is. And so I went back and forth, and in all honesty, our little discussion about Mobley pushed it over the top. And so I'm going to give Evan Mobley the last spot on the U.S. Olympic team.
That's what I like to hear, Mike.
Over Bam Adebayo. But that's a tough call. I would completely be okay with Bam being on the Olympic team and not Evan Mobley. But I just feel like Mobley brings you a presence, brings you something that you're not getting from anybody else. And I think he's just going to continue to, I think a year from now, he's even better offensively than what he's been. And so my team: guards, Steph, Booker, Mitchell, Anthony Edwards; forwards, KD, LeBron, Tatum, Jimmy Butler; centers, AD and Mobley.
All right. Are you going to put this on you're not going to poll this or anything, right? We're just going to.
Nah, I don't know. Well, I mean, it is what it is here.
There's no worse.
So.
Okay, got it. All right, Mike. We've done it. No other breaking news.
Well, we need to get Grant Hill out of there and take over for Grant Hill.
I mean, maybe.
We should have done coaches.
No, Mike, get out.
You don't want to get Steve Kerr out?
No.
You're not calling for his head like after we lost to Lithuania, people were calling for him.
Give me a break. Were people really that upset about it?
Yeah, people were really upset. There was a lot of can't win without illegal screens and Steph talk on X.
On X. A lot of posts.
A lot of X posts, man. Can't win without Steph and illegal screens.
Nah, get out of here. All right, Mike, we have to end the podcast with our predictions.
Okay.
Cleveland Browns. The season starts on Sunday. Let's go.
Is Joe Burrow playing?
He's listed as playing, I believe. I think he's playing.
Are you going with your head or your heart in this prediction?
Well, I'm not predicting. I'm going with my head. My head says there's no chance in heck they're winning this game. Okay. So, but here's what I'm going to say. Joe Burrow, well, he's winless in Cleveland.
All right.
He hasn't practiced or played in a single preseason game since his injury. His offensive line is terrible. But I don't trust the Browns, Mike. I just don't trust the Browns in a home opener. Come on.
Dude, this is a classic Browns loss, right? I mean, This is gonna what's my favorite text I always like to send to you? This is one of the Brownsiest losses I've ever seen. This is going to be a Brownsy loss. There's no doubt. Everybody's excited. People think the Browns are going to be good. You're coming in against Joe Burrow, who hasn't practiced, is going to be probably gimpy. You're playing at home. Everybody's excited. Deshaun Watson, second year back. He's going to be lighting up the scoreboard. And what's going to happen is the Browns are going to score it's going to be 21-5. Browns are going to miss 3 field goals and kick 1 and get a safety. And everybody's going to be like, where's this vaunted offense and everything else that's going to happen? I'm going to say I'll go Bengals 21, Browns 20. Missed extra point.
Ooh,
cost the Browns the win.
Yeah, different kicker, Mike. But
he's from the Chargers. We already went over this, man. He's gonna, Guy's gonna be terrible.
So I think. Okay, but you taking the Browns to cover the spread, which I like. The Browns are not favored at home, which
I know. I saw that. Yeah,
2.5 points, I think, was the spread. I don't know what it is now. Burrow's going to sign the biggest contract in NFL history probably tomorrow, is what I'm hearing. I'm reading. Okay. I think I'm obviously rooting for the Browns, Mike. I think you're rooting for the Browns, right? You're rooting for them to win, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I think the Bengals win this game. I'm going to go. I'm going to say it's going to be a lower scoring affair. I think it's 20-14 or 20-17 that we lose.
All right.
But I think the Browns end up 10-7 on the season, Mike. And I think the Browns are in the playoffs.
All right. I mean, look, they got to pour some cold water on the fans. You're just not going to – things aren't going to get off to a smooth start. It's just not the way the franchise has operated. And even if they end up having a good year, they're still going to just do some mind-boggling things that just will continue to kick their fan base right counts. So it just is – it happens time after time after time after time. And you can only go back to the well and think that you're going to get a different result so many times before you realize that it is what it is with this franchise. And until I've said it, I don't even know for how many years now, that you can talk about it all you want, but until you do it, I'm not buying it. I don't believe it. I'd like to believe it. I think the pieces are in place for there to be a good season here in Cleveland, but until I see it, I can't have any faith that it's actually going to happen, because every time that it's looked like it might happen in the past, the whole thing is imploded. So I just don't expect anything different. So I think the Bengals win this game.
All right. So just to throw this out there, Mike, so we don't talk sports betting very often, but just want to throw this out there to everybody. The Browns to win the Super Bowl are plus 3,500, Mike. So that means if you bet $1, you win $35. Okay. The big one that I couldn't believe. Nick Chubb rushing for 100 yards in 8 games. He has just 8 or more games. Is plus 200. In what world do the Browns not get 100 yards from him in 8 games?
So if I bet $1 on that, I get 20.
No. Plus 200 means you win $2. For every dollar, you win $2. But in what world is he not getting 8 games of 100 yards? And he has to get injured.
Yeah, in the world he gets hurt. In the world where he gets hurt, I mean, that's the only real way. I mean, otherwise, I find it hard to believe that our line is still pretty good, and I think our offense is going to be decent. Hopefully, if Watson is semi-functional, they should be able to keep teams honest and get the ball to Chubb. So, yeah, I would be surprised if he doesn't get 800-yard rushing games. That seems unlikely that he falls below that threshold.
Yeah. So those are the 2 big ones. My dad told me that I had to put someone on the over.
All right. Well, good luck to the Browns. Hopefully next week we will be back to report on a Browns victory and that we both were wrong in our prognostications. Hopefully,
the
U.S. will have
Sunday. We might have to have an emergency. We might have to do our NBA podcast next Sunday, Mike, because
maybe we'll think about it.
Because the championship game for FIBA and the Browns. I mean, kind of makes sense. I know that messes up our release schedule, but it might
we'll have to see. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, by the time we record next week, we'll have week 1 of the NFL in the books, and we will also have a FIBA World Cup champion, whoever that may be, whether it's Team USA or somebody else who wins in an upset. So I think we covered everything that we wanted to cover. Is there anything else?
Go watch that Ahsoka episode, Mike.
Yeah, I'm not watching that. All right. On that note, we'll leave it there. And to everyone out there, thanks for listening, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks.